Hello once again, YouTube. Chris the Nightbringer here, bringing you a regular New Eden Fleetworks ship video. Not a release, that was yesterday, and if you haven't already, check out the Caldari shuttle that I posted yesterday. It's a simple little ship, it looks great, and I hope you enjoy it for what it's worth. It's, it's pretty useless, to be honest. But there it is, that's the Caldari shuttle that I released yesterday, and you guys should totally check it out. Of course, over the course of the next few weeks, I'll be releasing the other shuttles as well as the projects that I'll be talking about a little bit of today. And so let me come over here and show you that the next thing I'll be working on after shuttles is fighter drones. They will be the next thing you should expect to be released, right? And I'll try and mix it up. I'll try and release a shuttle one week, a fighter drone the next week, another shuttle, and then a bomber. I have 4 of each, except for the bombers. There's 5, and I'll be talking about the 5th one at the end of this episode, because the actual purpose, well, the main content of this episode is fighter bombers. But as you can see, these fighter drones are not yet finished. However, when I get them 90% done, I'll be doing a video of them, and it should be my next video because I'll be working on them relatively soon. However, today's episode is about fighter bombers. So, what are fighter drones? Well, essentially, fighter drones are non-controllable ships in EVE. You cannot pilot them, but you can control them by releasing them from carriers and super carriers. And essentially, what they do is they do either damage to other bombers. The fighters would be doing damage to bombers, of course, or small ships, and the bombers do damage to capital ships. These bombers are equipped with some heavy-duty systems, some heavy-duty weaponry to do damage against capital ships, right? And that's primarily their focus, is to, dish out the damage against capital ships, because capital ships are pretty expensive and pretty much the pinnacle of anyone's corporation in EVE Online. Capital ships are the shit. So, these things are meant to take them out. And in terms of EVE, they have ridiculous stats. For example, the explosion radius on one of the ships from this lineup is 2.5 kilometers, which means the diameter of the explosion created by these ships' missiles, or weapons, or whatever, is literally 5 kilometers wide. It's freaking nuts, and I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why that number is that high. Just, it's nuts. And of course, I cannot replicate the massive amount of damage in StarMade with ships these small. These small? This small. So, I did my best. I fitted them with the best systems that I could, and the only thing left to do on these ships is fit them with proper thrusters and proper hardened hull, because some ships have more hull armor, should I say, than the others. For example, I'm pretty sure the Malleus right here, the Amar bomber, has the most hardened hull because it will have, in EVE, the most health points. I guess I'm tired because I cannot speak for the life of me today. Anyway, we're going to get on with this, and I'm going to show you the capabilities of all these ships. So, one thing I did is I made sure that each of EVE Online's ship damage types was translated to StarMade as best as I could. So, in EVE Online, we have explosive damage, kinetic damage, electromagnetic damage, and thermal damage. And the way I did that in StarMade was I made the explosive damage, the explosive module, the kinetic damage, the piercing module, the electromagnetic damage, the ion module, and the thermal damage, the punch module. In the future, I may be able to do this with turrets as well. It really depends on how many turrets I want to make, because there is a shit ton of turrets in EVE, and they all do different things. But if I can, and if I decide to do that, you'll be seeing ships that do specific types of damage, which means that, if you want a certain type of damage to be done, for example, if you want to take out somebody's shields, you'll be getting the ships that have the EM, such as the bomber over here. This bomber has electromagnetic damage, and that's pretty cool. I like that. It's like, pick and choose type of thing. Of course, they are all still viable for what you want to accomplish, but I still think it's pretty neat. So anyway, right here we have the Cyclops. This is the Galente fighter bomber. It looks really nice. One thing people may not realize about the Galente ships is that they are actually very white. In EVE Online, they appear very dark, but it turns out they're very bright. It's kind of crazy how bright they actually are. because you really never see that when you're playing the game. So there's a lot of white hull on this thing, primarily on the wings bits over here and the engine areas, and all the underside is white, and it looks really good. And you can, if you so desire, enter the ship from this plex door on either side. Of course, I should probably fill this up with some sort of hull right here, because it's kind of open, and you shouldn't be able to get down there. Keep in mind, this isn't finished yet. I still have engines to put in. And you can come up here, you can access the faction module, you can access the core, or if you want, you can activate the Bobby AI, because, like I said, these are technically drones in EVE, and I wanted to keep that functionality. So, the core on all the ships will be placed in a proper location, a location that makes sense and not something stupid like the middle of the ship. So, you know, if you take out the cockpit area of the ship, for the most part, you'd probably be taking out the core or the Bobby AI module, which is kind of neat. So, there's that. But anyway, let's test out the capabilities of this. This one is equipped with punch-through, which means that it's simulating thermal damage. So let's do a focused attack. This little target that I'm shooting at does have shields, although I'm not entirely sure how much I should expect those to survive. I was hoping that they would, because I have the ion effect on the other ship. So we'll just see how much damage this does in general. And there it is. Those are the 2 damage shots from this particular ship. We'll take a look at the Malleus's, which has ion. So this should be doing damage more so to the shields than the hull. This is really just a 5-meter thick chunk of hull, hardened hull. So, doing a massive bit of damage there. Yeah, you can already tell that there's not a lot of damage being spread out to the rest of that, which is really neat. That's exactly what I was expecting. And we'll do the unfocused shot. There. Hey, that's not bad. Okay. And next is the Mantis, which has ion. That's not right. It shouldn't have ion. Does it actually have ion? No! No way! That cannot be ion. That cannot be ion. I may have to fix this. I may have to fix this, because I'm pretty sure that's the Bobby AI module. Where is it? What is this? Piercing effect computer. So how the hell do I have ion on this? Because that's what I'm reading. That is what I am reading. What the hell is going on? It says I got piercing effect. What is this? Okay, now it's fixed. Okay, that was a little weird. That was a bit of a glitch. I'm gonna rewatch that footage just to make sure that I'm not going crazy, because it should have been piercing effect the whole time. Anyway, let's do a one-shot piercing effect. Wow, that didn't actually do a wide damage radius at all. Kind of surprised by that, actually. And we'll wait for this to charge up so that we can do the unfocused shots. And you may be sitting there thinking that this is a small amount of damage, that this ship really isn't doing a lot of damage. And you know what? I have to agree with you. But the thing is these ships are designed to work in conjunction with each other. I'm not interested in making these ships capable of taking on your massive Super Titan that has 20 million shields and a billion DPS. I'm not interested in doing that at all. The ships that I design will be made so that they work with each other, and that they are, you know, compared to each other, relatively workable. I don't know. No one ship is going to be overpowered. It's going to be sort of like that. So without further ado, we'll try out the explosive effect now. And we'll go down here and, of course, wait for it to recharge so that we can do an unfocused shot. Come on. Bam. So, real quick, I will jump into wherever it is, shield supply ship, because this is what I was flying around in. So as you can see, the thermal damage did a lot of additional damage to the hull around it, and it sunk in 3 blocks and did damage to the 5th block at the back. If I come around to the back, you should see some of that damage. 1 block, literally 1 block. And so this kind of dissipates the damage around a bit, you know. That's pretty awesome. I like that. That's really exactly how I imagined that would work. And that is thermal damage on the Cyclops. Here is electromagnetic damage. As you can tell, this didn't really do a lot of damage to the hull itself. It was focusing more of its damage on shields. In case you're wondering what the actual ratio is, there are 14 missile blocks. No, not 14. There are 28 missile blocks split into 2 groups, and there are 14 effect modules attached to them. So the ratio is 50% effect, just in case you were wondering. So here we have the Mantis, which did piercing damage. Now, I'll be completely honest, it doesn't really look like it did a lot of piercing. It does look like it was, you know, a little bit cleaner. You know, it's generally the same size of a hole, but there's not a lot of extra damage done to the blocks around it. A little bit more so up here, but that's because multiple shots were fired at this location, right? So you know, it's okay. It's not exactly what I want. If anything, that's probably like the default type of damage, you know? If you wanted to just do regular damage, that's probably what I would be choosing. And actually, from what I understand, piercing no longer, like, goes through blocks the way it used to. It actually does more damage to hull than it does to shields. But there are no shields remaining on that ship, so that's okay. And this here, the Tyrfing, did its damage with explosive, and as you can tell, the radius on this is quite a little bit bigger. However, there is not as much damage going on as there was in the thermal, where it sank in type of thing, or the punch-through effect. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of weapon testing, nothing spectacular, right? And you may, again, be saying that this isn't the craziest amount of damage you've seen out of a ship this big, but that's not the point. The point is that these ships are supposed to function, and, you know, you're supposed to take a choice, make a choice between them. In the future, of course, we will be seeing weapon systems that are much larger. I'm talking about a turret that is entirely as large as this entire ship here, or bigger, right? There are fucking huge turrets in EVE Online, and we will eventually be getting to some of those turrets. But for now, this is the best I can do. I haven't actually done any weapons testing before, so it's kind of neat to see all this progress being made, all these different effects. You know, I've never actually messed around with these modules till today, either. I've literally not touched a single one till today, because... oh god, I choked on dust. Because I've had no reason to. I never made ships with weapon capabilities, and I haven't gotten to turrets yet on any other ship. So, one last thing I wanted to show you was the 5th and final bomber of the fighter bomber type of ship from EVE, and that is the Shadow. Now, this is significantly larger than the other fighter bombers, and there's a reason why. This is a special faction ship in EVE Online. Basically, you can only get this ship if you have acquired enough loyalty with a specific faction, this particular faction being Sancha's Nation. Now, if you don't know anything about Sancha's Nation or EVE at all, Sancha's Nation is basically comprised of clones that have been forced into slavery, or genetically modified slaves that comprise the entirety of this nation. And essentially people are abducted, and it's kind of like the Borg. They are abducted, and then they're genetically modified, and they're cloned, and they're forced to become a part of this crazy dude's, like, empire, right, that he's trying to make. So this is one of their ships. This is their fighter bomber, and it makes sense that this is bigger. Well, it makes sense that this is this big because the carrier for Sancha's Nation is, I believe, the largest carrier in the game. It's freaking huge. It's like 5 kilometers long. It's nuts, and I'll be checking that out in a far future episode, far off episode, right? But it's really cool looking. It has turrets in the front, not turrets, but guns, I should say, some sort of cannonry, right? It does 2 different types of damage, which means I'll have to split up the weapon systems into 2 different missile groups. It does thermal, and I believe it does EM damage, right? So you'll have 2 different types of missile systems to fire with this ship. And on top of that, it has a micro warp drive, which means I'll be putting in an overdrive effect module into the ship so you can activate it and do a little bit of extra speed. And that'll be really awesome. And it's quite a crazy looking ship. It's got spikes on it at the top there. Kind of looks like a bug somehow. I don't know. But yeah, that is the Sanchez Nation Shadow. It's the first Sanchez Nation ship that I've shown here, and it's pretty crazy looking. So that will also be worked on, although technically because of its differences from the other bombers, I will not be working on it in conjunction with them. It's, you know, it's different enough where I don't have to worry about making them all relative to each other and whatnot. So don't exactly expect this one to be coming out at the same time as the bombers, but it will be one of the, it will be among those other ships that I complete to begin with, before I move on to frigates. So with that being said, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you look forward to these bombers down here that I will be releasing. And that's pretty much all I have for this episode. So if you haven't already, subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys next time.